Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our monthly Alpha 40 deck tech updates and discussion video. So what you're seeing here is our June Alpha 40 League deck that we ran last month. If you recall, we kept the same Black Vise, Time Twister, Twister Vise engine intact, and swapped in some red cards and make it a little more red-blue burn. We had luck with that. Our record for the month of June was 0-3, although our very first match we played another player who was kind of on a mirror match of this deck. They were also doing red and blue with Time Twister and Black Vises, so that was a really exciting match. We did win 1 of 3 games there, so it was we lost the match 1-2. It got very close down to the last game 3. They had 2 life points, we had 1, and we could have almost drawn if we would have cast a Psionic Blast, pushed it to a 4th game of the match. But they had a Fireball or maybe a Lightning Bolt, and they finished us off. I also had some trouble running Copper Tablets. If you recall, we put in 3 copies of Copper Tablet last month. We were unsure about that. We didn't really test it. So in the league, we found out that Copper Tablets were more lethal to us than to our opponents. Typically what would happen is I would get some Lightning Bolts out early and some Psionic Blasts and do like 3 to 7 damage to them up front and kind of be ahead on life, and then I would drop a Copper Tablet and they would play a creature, and then shortly after they would play another creature, and then I was out of burn spells to remove the creatures, and then they would kind of start attacking for 2 to 4 points a turn, and then we were both taking damage from Copper Tablet, so they would catch up pretty quickly to the life total, and then they would win the match. Our second match, we lost to a mono red Goblins deck. So they had Goblins and Goblin Kings, and so their Goblins would gain power and toughness every time they added a Goblin King in play, and we didn't have enough removal, and we were running Chaos Orb instead of Balance, and so we weren't able to remove creatures easily, and so that deck got the better of us. And then our last match, we completely got ruined by a mono black creature deck they were running Bad Moon in the deck, and so I wish we had maybe more disenchants, or at least access to disenchants. We were just running the 1 disenchant in the last month, but they were running a couple copies of Bad Moon, probably 3 copies. So they seemed like almost every game they had Bad Moon out on turn 2 or 3 and pumping their Black Knights, and we were taking massive amounts of damage. So for this month, we're going to take out the Copper Tablets. We also picked up some cards that you may have seen in some of our videos last couple weeks. So we're going to add them into this deck this month, make it a little more red-blue burn, direct damage. And I think we're also going to risk taking out the black cards. We're going to take out Dark Ritual, Demonic Tutor, which means we can take out the dual lands. We had a lot of fun playing them, but we're going to free up some space in the deck for some other cards that might do more direct damage and help us with creatures. I was kind of admiring Rich Bork's LobsterCon deck, which was kind of a red-blue Workshops deck, and he was running Psyblast and Lightning Bolt and Juggernauts, and just kind of doing as much direct damage as he could, and mentioned that cards like I don't know, cards like Demonic Tutor, you know, ultimately take an extra turn to get a card you might need to do some damage, and if you just kind of put the pedal to the metal and put cards in your deck that accomplish your end goal, your deck is a little more effective. So I was also thinking about, in terms of chess, the Lightning Bolts are obviously good in the early game, and then we need some help in the mid game to kind of slow down our opponents, and then in the end game there's you know, we can't get to the end game if our mid game is not so good. So I think we're going to put in a couple cards this month that'll help us once we get into turn 2, 3, and 4, and then be able to kind of hold off an army of creatures and eventually get us to the point where we can cast Time Twister and then have them drawing into like 2 or 3 black Vises with 7 cards in their hand. So the first thing we're gonna do to this deck is we're going to put in some basic mountains that we picked up. We have 2 basic mountains. We're gonna take out some of the black duals. We're also gonna add another basic island. So we have three lands that we're gonna put in this deck. We're gonna take out this Bayou. We won't need black mana. It'll also kind of help us against Karma, in case anyone's playing like a mono white Karma land destruction deck. So we'll put in that mountain. We'll take out Underground Sea. Won't need black. We'll put in an island, basic island. There. And then we'll rearrange this in a second too. So we'll also take out Scrubland. We won't need black mana, so we have no duels with black producing mana right now. But we're adding to our red mana base up here and our blue mana base over here. I don't think we're gonna add any blue cards, but we are going to add a couple red cards to this deck. We picked up 2 copies of Disintegrate, so we're gonna add a Disintegrate. We're gonna take out the Shatter. I don't think we need 2 removal spells, and Disenchant works better because it also targets enchantments. So we'll take out Shatter to put in this Disintegrate. And Disintegrate is great because it works like a Swords to Plowshare. It removes their creatures from the game if it targets creatures. So, and we'll at least represent white on the board with the dual lands. So we'll keep our opponents guessing, and they'll wonder if we have Swords to Plowshares in our hand, and maybe if they sinkhole our white mana sources, we'll still have access to red mana sources to cast Disintegrate. Let's take out Copper Tablets too. We're gonna take out this Copper Tablet, put in our 3rd copy of Disintegrate right there. We'll keep Regrowth in with the Disenchant. There we go. Regrowth is going to regrow the Time Twister so that we can cast Time Twister multiple times. And what else do we want to do? We'll take out another Copper Tablet. And we're going to put in Rod of Ruin instead of Copper Tablet. Rod of Ruin costs 4, but then costs 4 to cast it, and then 3 colorless. It does 1 damage to any target, and so it is a mono artifact. And so mono artifacts, I believe, have to be tapped to use them in alpha, so it would cost 3 colorless, and you tap this, and it would do a damage to your opponent. We're also going to take out this 3rd Copper Tablet because they were not very helpful, and we'll put in a Juggernaut instead. So for 4 mana, we put down a 5/3 creature that cannot be blocked by walls, and it must attack each turn if possible. And it's a great blocker against Land of War Elves. It does not block flying creatures, but we could save our burn spells for the flying creatures and then save the Juggernaut for the non-flying creatures. We have another copy of Juggernaut. We'll put that in the deck as well. We'll take out this Demonic Tutor. He served us very well the many months that we've played Demonic Tutor. We've searched for Time Twister. That's pretty much the only card we would ever search for, unless we were in a special situation or looking to finish the game and find the finishing side blast. So we'll put in a 2nd Juggernaut. Now we have 2 copies in case they Swords to Plowshares one of our Juggernauts. And then the last thing we're gonna do is take out this Dark Ritual for producing black mana, because we don't have any black cards, we don't need black mana. And we'll swap it with a Basalt Monolith, which is a card we played once before. I think we played this in May, I believe. And it produces 3 colorless mana and can be untapped by paying 3 colorless. So This will help us later in the game when we want to maybe cast a big fireball or even a disintegrate. We can use it to cast Juggernaut like in turn 4 maybe. We'll see, or 2 if we have Soul Ring down. So we'll use that as mana producing, but colorless mana, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 10 total artifacts. We have, let's put this copy artifact up here. Kind of rearrange the deck and I'll show you. We'll put our dual lands down here. We'll put our mountains up here. So we're going to keep the mana base at 16 lands. We'll have 11 basics and 5 dual lands, 5 islands, 6 mountains, and 5 dual lands. We'll have the 3 white producing, 3 white producing dual lands and 3 green producing dual lands that also produce red and blue. And of course we don't have Volcanic Eruption. That was not in the alpha edition. So we'll sort of create it in the aggregate by playing these 5 duels. We have 5 blue spells, and we'll have 7 red spells. I am picking up more fireballs at some point, so that might also help the deck if we could get more fireballs in the deck. But we'll just try 3 lightning bolts, 3 disintegrates, and the 1 fireball. And that should be the spells for the deck for this month of July. And it is July, so we kind of have a red, white, blue theme a little bit. It's kind of red, white, blue. Hopefully we see some stars and stripes this summer. So then our artifacts, we have 3 black vices, the Soul Ring, Howling Mine is our draw spell. We have a Chaos Orb for removal, Basalt Monolith for mana, colorless mana, Rod of Ruin for direct damage, and 2 Juggernauts for creature defense and attacking. And then we also will put our 5 dual lands at the bottom here, plus Regrowth and Disenchant. So I think that's going to round out the deck for July. Like I said, 16 lands. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blue sources for 5 blue spells. We have 6, 7, 8 red sources for 7 red spells. And then we have 10 artifacts and 3 green sources for the Regrowth and 3 white sources for the Disenchant. So that's the deck. We're gonna shuffle it up real quick. We'll do a goldfish for you today, just to see how fast this deck is. I think taking the black cards will kind of speed it up a little bit, then we won't be kind of waiting to draw the right mana, the right dual lands. I did put new outer sleeves on this deck last month, so it's performing very well. I think we hit all of our orb flips as well. I think I mentioned that, but we were orbing a lot of things last month. And I still think keeping balance out of the deck is great, because with the black vices, we don't want to make our opponents discard cards. If we're down to 2 or 3 cards in their hand, we don't want to sacrifice them taking damage from black vice just to wipe out creatures, because then we gotta stall in the mid game and draw some more cards. So there is, we've shuffled, we'll draw 7 cards. You do a quick test and see what this deck looks like. So here's our opening 7 for you. Appreciate everyone following the Alpha Quest. We have spells, Black Vices. This is great. We'll draw for turn. Let's go ahead and put down, we'll save our mountain in case they have some sort of land destruction, but we'll drop an island, put in a first Black Vice, pass the turn, they're at 17. We'll untap and draw. We have the regrowth, we'll save that. Let's drop, let's keep them guessing. Let's put down a Tundra. Save the lightning bolt in case they have a creature. Tap the island, we'll play another Black Vice. Pass the turn. If they're down to 6 cards, they're going to take 4 damage, so they're at 13. Untap, pass to us. There's a fireball, so let's play mountain. Let's tap the mountain for red. Fireball them, they're at 10. Pass the turn. They have 5 cards, they'll take 2 damage. They'll be at 8 life. Untap, pass it back to us. We have copy artifact, that's perfect. So we'll play another basic island. Let's tap 2, we'll copy artifact the Black Vice. And I think they're gonna be down to 4 life after this. 4 cards in hand, so we'll pass the turn to them. Save our fireball. Let's pretend that they're under the Black Vices. And then, by now they've got some creatures on the battlefield. We'll play this tropical island. We could fireball, they're still at 8, so we would only be able to do 4 damage. But we could regrow. Let's go ahead and tap for green, colorless. Let's regrow the lightning bolt. And then we'll just tap this red for mountain for red, lightning bolt them or their creature. But let's just put them at 5 basically. They're down to 3 cards, so they're under the Vices. They untap, pass to us. We'll play an island. Does feel like we're a little short on red mana because we only have the 1 mountain this game. So if they were to sinkhole that mountain or stone rain that mountain, we'd be in trouble. Let's see, they're at 5. I think we could attempt to tap that for red and 5 colorless and fireball them, or maybe divide it amongst their creatures if they have small creatures, but we'll try to fireball them. Maybe it gets countered, maybe not. And then pass, untap, draw. We got another land. We're still missing some red. We'll tap that. We'll lightning bolt them. Pass the turn, untap, and then there's another red source. There's a plateau. Let's see what else we get. Kind of need like a brain geyser, but we're not playing double blue or double white or double red spells. We do have 4 mana, so we can tap this Rod of Ruin. And then we can also tap 3 and do 1 damage to them, pass the turn. And we just need one more finishing spell here. Untap, draw, Psyblast. That'll be our finisher. So let's go ahead and tap 3 to do a damage, and then we'll tap a blue and 2 colorless, and we'll Psyblast for the win. So that's game 1, much faster. I think that was only about a 5 to 10 minute match there. So we'll try it. I'll let you know if we need more red sources. I think maybe in August we will add more mountains and a couple more fireballs and take out a few other things, but we'll run this deck for July, let you know at the end of August how it did, or middle of August. We'll let you know how July did with this deck. Seems pretty good. I think it'll be a lot of accelerated mana. I think it'll be a fun deck. Let me know in the comments below if you've run a deck like this in old school or revised 40 or alpha 40, and if there's any suggestions you would make to it, that'd be great. Appreciate all the likes and subscriptions, and see you next month, everyone.